Hi folks, welcome back to Raakesh iWave Lab, the Techno Hub channel for placement training. So today's session we are going to discuss elaborately about data types. Stay tuned. We'll just start with data types now. Let me start with Apex data type. So you know very well what is Apex data type all about, right? So it tells what kind of data you are going to use, right? So the Apex data type is nothing but it can be this object, primitive data type, enum, right? It can be collection type and so on. Like can be stored and what is the range of the data that can be stored. So here Apex data tells about what type of data you're going to store and what is the range of data that can be stored here. So there are different types of data, three different data types are available in Apex. So like we have a primitive data type. You know very well what is primitive data type all about, like integer, float, double, right, and so on, like boolean. All this thing comes as primitive data type, string, right? So like collection, we have collection data type, object data type, enumeration, class and objects, and interfaces, and so on. Like we have different data types here. When it comes to primitive data type, like we have blob, binary large object. In case you want to store your movie, or you want to store your picture, or you want to store your binary format, you want to store in the picture in the form of binary format. In that case, you can go with a binary large object, right? And to return true or false, that or you want to store true or false. In that case, you can go with the boolean data type here, the logical values true, false, and null. Then you have date data type here to store your date, DDMM format or MMDDYY format, right? So you want to work with date and time data type here. So yes, we have a data type called date data type. Similarly, we have date and time data type, which includes date followed with time. And also, in case you want to work only with time data type, that case we have a data type called time data type. You know very well about decimal, right? After the so if in case you're going to have 42.5 after the decimal point, the remaining thing we call this a decimal data type, right? To store a decimal value, we use a decimal data type which is being used in currency and other data type, right? So likewise, we have ID. So to store 18-digit character, unique character ID here. So like right, it is going to be like this, right? So it is going to be a case insensitive. Then you know very well about integer data type, which is going to store whole numbers. Long data type, which is going to take 10-digit number object, right? You want to store an object, you want to create an object. For a class, you're going to create an object and you're going to assign the value for it. Similarly, we have a string. String here will be stored in the single quotes, not in double quotes. The set of characters surrounded by single quotes here, right? So likewise, we have different data types available to start with. Now, when it comes to primitive data type, it includes integer, double, long, decimal, date, time, string, ID, and boolean, right? So all primitive data types are passed by value, not by reference. You may have to make a note on this. It is passed by value, but not by reference here. So Apex variable, right? Whether they are class members variable or initialized to null. So in case it comes to Apex variable, if you don't initialize, so the class member variable will be initialized to null. Make sure that we initialize the variable to appropriate values before using that. So we have to make sure that you have to initialize the value. If you don't initialize, it will be assigned to null. Got it? So come to integer data type, integer, long, double, and decimal. We're going to store the values in variable declared variables with one of the numeric data type, like integer, long, double, and decimal. So integer data type, this is going to be 32-bit number, does not include a decimal point here. There's a whole number. Its range is going to be minus 2147 to plus 2147, right? So example is integer I equal to 1, so on. So similar way when it comes to date data type, right? Date data type is used to store the date value. Date value contains no information about the time here. It has only date value. Must always be created with a system static method here. So here we're going to use a system static method here. Example, date followed with the object name called my date equal to date dot new instance of. There is a method called new instance of. Using in new instance of method, I'm going to pass the value, which is going to be year, month, and day. So the output is going to be like this. So it is only going to display the date with 0 time. Got it? This is all about the date data type. Similar way when it comes to time and so on, right? We're going to have a different kinds of time methods, and we're going to have a date and time methods and so on. We'll see one by one. Right now, see here. Now see the example here. I'm going to execute all these things in my execute anomalous block here. Right. So likewise for record ID, I'm going to select ID from accounts. I'm going to select ID from account. Got it? Account limit. So that is what happens. Now we're going to see the demo. So like see the example here. Now record ID. I want to select the record ID from the account object. And I say limit equal to limit 1. So mean that it is going to display only one record. Right? So from the ID. So when I say record ID, it's going to print the record ID here. Got it? Similar way, right? I'm going to declare a variable called integer variable. It's going to be of type integer. I'm going to assign the value 27 and I'm going to print the value here. Similar way, I'm going to declare long variable. So the long variable go with at the end, it go with L and I'm going to display the value here. So next one is object value. I'm going to store some value in the object. I'm going to display the object value, right? So like this, and then when it comes to date and time, right? In case we go with the date and time, I want to display date and time, right? In that case, date time is followed with the current date time. That is a variable reference variable called date time dot now. Now it is going to display the current date and time here. It is going to display the current date and time. If you want to display only the time alone, that case you go with the time, right? System.debug of time. Time dot new instance of I'm going to pass the value. I already told you that you have to pass only the value, not the reference. We are going to pass the value here. So this is when it comes to time. So it goes with hours, minutes, seconds, and milliseconds. You're going to get the value here. Similarly, I'm going to display the decimal value. So likewise, we're going to see all the date and time functions now. So like one by one we go. See similar way here also I'm going to use date, new date equal to date of new instance of. For the date alone, I'm going to pass. What is it? I'm going to pass the value here. So when it comes to date, I'm going to pass year, month, and date. We're going to get a day here. Similarly today, to get a system date. Right? I'm going to get the. I'm going to use a method called today. I'm going to add years, add months. Right? So likewise, I'm going to use the date data type here. Once we complete the date data type, then we go to the time data type now. Now let me go to the demo now. In order to get into demo, right? Again, I'll go to the already I logged into my org. I'll go to the gear icon, click on gear icon, go to developer console. Just open the execute anomalous window. Just open the execute anomalous window. I'll close everything. The old one, I'm going to close it. Right? I'm going to close everything. I'm going to press Control E to open my execute anomalous window. See, just now I'll start with the primitive data type, like integer, right? And followed with long, right? And then object data type and so on. So now, for example, I'll say integer num1 equal to, right, 45. Just this is the number variable. I'm going to store the number into my variable called num1, which is going to what type? Integer data type. So I'm going to say system dot debug of, right, number data type. Number type colon, right? And then I'm going to say plus in that is number. Right? So this is going to print the number here. This is going to print the number. Similar way, I'm going to say long, right? Long number equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, L. Got it? And then I'm going to say system dot debug of long type. Long type. Plus, I'm going to use a variable called long num. That is my variable, right? And then object type. I'm going to use object obj equal to 45. Right? Now I'm going to say system dot debug of, so object value colon plus obj. Now let me execute it and see there is, right? Now let me execute. So we are going to get the output now. Go to the debug only. Go to debug only. Right? Go to debug only. And then see, you're going to get the number type here, long type, and object type here. Got it? So this is an example for using a primitive data type. These are the example for using a primitive data type. Just now I executed, right? So now, as of now, I stored integer value, then long value, object type, and so on, right? So now let me see the remaining. Similar way, we have different date and time methods with the data type here. Now let me see some of the examples with date time data type. For date and date time data type, we go with date time, right? We go with date time. So current time, we're going to have a what is it? For date time, it's a variable equal to, right? Now current date time, its data type is going to be date time equal to date time dot, then we're going to have now off. We have a method called date time method, which is going to bring today's date and time. Now I'm going to use system dot debug of, so current date, current date time is, so plus, so see current time now, which is going to display the current date and time, right? So similarly, we have time also, like we have time. So using time, I have a method called new instant method, and I'm going to pass the value here. But I can display the time also. We have different time methods here. So directly I can use system dot debug of, system dot debug of time is, right. So time is colon. Then you can say plus followed with time dot new instance of, right? Then I'm going to pass the value here. What is the value? Hour. So it is 14 hour, minutes, 35 minutes, second, 20 seconds, and milliseconds. So then I'll go and pass in the milliseconds now. 40 milliseconds. Then semicolon. Right? Similar way, I'm going to display decimal value. In order to display the decimal value, so I'm going to have a data type called decimal. So DEC equal to 45.753. And now system dot debug of, debug of decimal values plus DEC. So now let me execute out of all this thing now. I made a mistake somewhere. System is by E. Here I made a mistake. System dot debug. See, you are getting number, long, object value here. Inside the object, what is the value? That value is going to print, and it is going to print date and time together, current date and time, using time dot is date time dot. We are using a method, right? Dot now, using a now method, I'm able to display the current date and time. Right, then I'm going to be able to display the time here, and followed with it is going to display the value, decimal value here. So now we're going to discuss some of the time, right? We are going to discuss some of the time, date and time data type, right? Or date data type. Like we have new instance of date, right? Some of the date methods here. We're going to use new instance of date and today's date, add years, add months, right? So let me see, let me discuss about all this time right now. So now let me close this. Now again, I'll press Control E. I'll remove all this thing now. Just delete it, right? Remove all this thing. Now there is a class called date class. Now like for date, so date data type. I'm going to use date data type here. Date. So new date, right? New date equal to, right? So I'm going to use date dot, right? Date dot what? New instance of. I'm going to use new instance of date dot new instance of. Like let me expand this. Right? Date dot new instance of. Right now, I'm going to pass the value for year 2022. Month is going to 03, and day it is going to be, what is today's date? It's going to be 28, right? 28. So it is going to store new date. It is going to store. Now we're giving date value. It is going to print the date format. It's going to print the date. Now I'm going to use system dot debug of today's date is today date is plus new date. Got it? New date. Now date followed with uh, today date. I want to print system date or today date. Today date equal to new date of, or I can go with date dot today of. I can go with date dot today of. Right? It is going to take the system date and it's going to display here. I'm going to use system dot debug of system date is colon plus today date. Got it? So then I want to add some of the data to the years. I want to add some years, month, day, right? So on. You know that case, date, right? So new date 1 equal to date dot add years. Add years. Here I have a method called add years. But now I'm going to give how many number of years you want to add? 5 years. I'm going to add 5 years. Now system dot debug of after 5 years, the year is, we're going to display the year now. So new date 1. Similarly, date new date 2 equal to, right? So like I have to use add years, right? So like here I have to use, so from this date today, so I have to use today, right? Today dot, right? So then I'm going to use from the today date dot add months. So add months, right? I'm going to use add months. I'm going to add 6 months. So after today's, so I'm going to add another 6 months. I'm going to display. Now I'm going to say system dot debug of after 6 months. The month is new date 2. We're going to print the after 6 months. What is the date? Similarly, I'm going to say date new, this new date 3 equal to today. That is today date dot add days. Add days of. Now today is 28. I'm going to add 2 days here. Now system dot, right, debug of after 2 days. The day is so now plus today. Now it is going to be from today, right? Yeah. I'm going to print new data plus new date 3. Now let me execute it. See, now click on debug only. It is going to print today's date is, what is today's date? It is 28/3/2022. So year, month and date. Now after this, system date is, what is system date? It is after 5 years. Notice 2022 plus 5, 2026. After 6 months, now it is third month. 6, it is ninth month. Got it? After 2 days, it is only 30. So it is working well, right? It is working well. The date and time data types are working well. So as of now, we have discussed with date and time data type. See, once again, I tell you, I want to pass a value now. I want to print today's date. I want to print my date format. In order to print in the date format, we're going to use a method called new instant method from the date class, right? For which I'm declaring a variable, which is going to be date data type. I'm going to pass the value. What all values I'm going to pass? I'm going to pass year, month, and day, so that I'm going to print the date format. We're going to print the today's, that is data. And then in case you want to display today's date, we use a method called today method, right? And it is going to print today's date here. This being stored in the variable here, that is going to print here. After 5 years, I want to see what is the year after 5 years. Now today, this year is going to be 2022. So 2020 plus 2022 plus 5 is going to be 2027. It will be displayed here. Similar way, months. Right now it is the third month. After 6 months, right? It is going to be ninth month. So like after 2 days, what is the date here? So it is going to print, for which we have different date and time methods available here from date class. We can make use of this. So these are the different data types available here, right? Similar way, we're going to see time data type also now. Now we're going to discuss about the time data type. Now we're going to discuss about the time data type. Got it? Now we're going to discuss about the time data type. Similar way, I want to add minutes, hours, second, and so on. Right now, I'm going to say time, a new time equal to time dot new instance of. When I say new instance of and put semicolon here, now I'm going to pass the value. What is happening here? So it is going to be 5 hours, 30 minutes. Any data I can give, any value can give, and seconds, 25 seconds, millisecond. $45 millis. Now I'm going to use system dot debug of time equal to time is new time. It is going to print the new time here. Got it? It is going to print the new time. Now I'm going to add hours here. So again, I'm going to say time new time 1 equal to new time, from the new time dot add hours. Add hours. How many hours I'm going to add? There's already 5 hours. I'm going to add another 5 hours. Right? So new time. So this is a new time. Okay, now I'm going to say system dot debug of, right? So after adding hours, our time is colon plus new time 1. So I've added time, now added hours. I'm going to add minutes. Again, time data type followed with new time 2 equal to new time dot add minutes. Right. I'm going to add. So now I'm going to add 60 minutes. When I add 60 minutes, right, system dot debug of after adding minutes, our time is plus new time 2 or, right, after adding. Similar way, hours, minutes, milliseconds, like a second, millisecond. So time, new time 3 equal to new time from the time dot add millisecond. I'm going to add 30 seconds. Now I'm going to say system dot debug dot after adding millisecond. Just new time 3. Now let me execute it. See here. So till this we have seen these are the consecutive date, right? Now from here, after to see now the today's time is going to this time will display time, adding hours. What is it? So now after so today's time is going to display here, adding hours after adding the number of hours, right? After adding the number of hours. So our 5 hours, right? After adding number of hours, after adding 5 hours, after adding 60 minutes, after adding milliseconds, that is 30 milliseconds. This is the output. Got it? These are the different date and time data types available. As of now, we discussed about date, time, and then time methods now. Once again, we'll brush up with the date and time data type here. Now see here, we have a variable called my date time one. It's of date time data type. So using date time, I'm going to pass the value like hours, minutes, second, like like year, months, and date followed with hours, minutes, and seconds. So we're going to display the date and time here. Right, similar way, I'm going to add the date, add the hours here, the time. It is going to show the same date with hours will be added. Similar way, the add days is going to add the days here. The number of days will be added here. Got it? So the number of days after adding number of days is going to display the after adding 4 days, it is going to display 16 here. In a similar way, adding months with the date and time. So I'm going to use a method called add months here, and it's going to display the number of months after 5 months. Add years after adding years, 2 years. Now it is 2019 here. So the same it is going to 2019. And add 2 years, then it is 2021. So likewise, we are going to display date and time. I want to display date here. I can able to display date similar way, date and time also. So I can still format my date and time. I can still format a date. I want to display the formatted date and time. The new date time format is going to print the formatted date and time here, for which we have a method called format of, right? So likewise, we discussed about different kinds of date, time, and then primitive data types. Some of the primitive data types that we have discussed. Please, right? I hope you have understood about the date and time, and also some of the primitive data types. Please subscribe to my channel. So it is Raakesh iWave Lab, right? Channel for placement training. So a Techno Hub, Raakesh iWave Lab, a Techno Hub channel for placement training. Please subscribe and click on bell icon and support us. So and stay tuned, right? Bye bye.